Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yeah, where's this? I had a gadget here. Right. Let me introduce myself first. I'm not what I look. I was born in Tanganyika. Anybody knows Tanganyika? Tanzania. And whenever I say that, people ask me, why are you not black? And so why should I be? Of an Indian family. And I had my early education there. I still have connection with Tanzania. And at the age of 13, I was sent to India for a boarding school. And I did my high school in India. I did my BA in political science in India. I did my MA in Islamic studies from Aligarh Muslim University. And then I did my PhD here in the United States at Temple University in the Department of Religion.
Was Dr. Ismail Faruqi alive then?
Yes, he was my advisor.
He's the founding president. He's the founding president of.
That's why I dedicate my lecture to him this evening. He's the first president of the American Islamic College, and I dedicate my lecture to him. It's really an honor, oh my God, to be here. And he used to come here, and every weekend before he was murdered, I think this is the lad, when I was walking around, this goosebumps he's around here. And for me, he was the last phenomenologist of religion. I'll get more into that one. So I did my PhD here. Then I went to live in Thailand, and I'm there for the last 28 years. And I say that, and I hold a British citizenship because Tanzania was a British colony until today. So I was globalized before globalization. I really don't understand what the word globalization means because this term came about in 1980s. In 1990s. I speak 6 languages. So my globalization is globalization of religions, cultures, and languages. I speak English. English is like mother tongue. I dream in English. I speak English. I speak Swahili. I speak Hindi and Urdu, which I picked up in India. My parents are Indian, but we didn't speak those languages. I speak Arabic. I speak Thai. So those 6, and besides. So I'm very confused. When anybody asks me, where are you from? I say, give me 2 minutes. And I think I just took that time. So my presentation here is integrating study of Buddhism for Islamic studies. And as I said, I dedicate it to Professor Ismail al-Faruqi. He played a very important role in my life. I had finished my MA, I had nowhere to go. My father died. I had no money. I had very good grades. I sent him I said, I want to learn, I want to study. And he got a scholarship for me. So that was him. And for 28 years, he died in 1986. For 28 to 27 years, I was in Thailand after his death. And no fellowship was ever produced for him. There are so many fellowships, studies in honor of Fazlur Rahman and Syed Hussain Nasr. By the way, I studied with Syed Hussain Nasr. Mahmoud Ayub was my advisor, and Muhammad Arkoon, and Faruqi. Faruqi was giant of a scholar. So for 28 years, I was always in this pain that why nobody produced a fellowship for Faruqi. So in 2010, I was visiting professor at Georgetown, and I talked to John Esposito, and I said, I want to do this. And he said, I don't have time. Many people, I said, I have time, and he just helped me to arrange it. And alhamdulillah, this is Islam and Knowledge, which was produced by me, which is available. It's published by Ideologies from London. And then, while I was doing that research for producing the first fellowship, I had access to all the Faruqi papers, which are at Washington at IIIT, International Institute of Islamic Thought. And I found a manuscript there which was not published. So I updated it and produced it in this form. So these are the 2 publications. And recently I published a paper, Ismail al-Faruqi's contribution to the academic study of religion in Islamic studies in 2014. I was in Indonesia recently, and they told me, you are the only person working on Faruqi. Yes, he has been abandoned. And he's seen as the founder of Islamization of knowledge.
That's right.
This big, and I was giving a lecture at the University of International Islamic University in Malaysia, which has this Islamization of knowledge, and I upset them. I said to them, Ismail al-Faruqi is not the Karl Marx of Islamization of knowledge. They were so upset because it's not an ideology, it has to be an approach or a tool. So that's my introduction here. And I also produced another article. People don't know much about it. Ismail al-Faruqi and Fazlur Rahman, they were friends together. I found letters between them doing my research. And I did this article on Ismail al-Faruqi and Fazlur Rahman from University of Chicago, academic friends addressing issues of Islam and modern age. All these are available on academia.edu under my name or at the ResearchGate, Imtiyaz Yusuf, and you can download them all. Okay, talking about Islam and Buddhism. Whenever I come to the United States and I give one of my best lectures on Islam, the two questions which always come up at the end is what is jihad and what is the status of women. And whenever I want to talk about Islam and Buddhism, these days everybody says Rohingya. I say, wow, let's keep it the last question. We'll talk about it later, you know, and that's what people are so impatient, Rohingya issue. I'll come into that. But this is what I want to show. This is the Dalai Lama. And as a Muslim, I make it a statement that Buddhism is the most tolerant religion of all religions in the world. More than even the way Muslims practice Islam. I really am grateful for them. I've lived in Thailand for 28 years. I studied Buddhism at Temple University with Professor Charles Fu, and we studied very deeply. And I went to Thailand and you know, they're such nice people, and if you go into the whole literature, I'll come to it later on. Whenever they invite me, first thing they tell me is that for a lecture, they tell me, mostly during the day, they said, we have prepared a lunch for you, and we have prepared a musalla for you, a prayer mat. Whoever does that for anybody, this respects so much spirituality. And it is a halal, they assure me it is halal. And it's always biryani. And I said, can you give me something else? You know, I can eat vegetable, I can eat fish, I can eat, because they think we can only eat one item, all right? Even I fly on ANA, Japan Airlines, and they come with me with Haagen Dazs and say, you ordered Muslim meal, can you eat this? I say, yeah, I can eat ice cream too. So, so this is the kind of imagination. And when I came to Thailand for 28 years ago, I sit in the taxi and the driver asks me, so what's your religion? Because religion is not a big question in Thailand. You know, everybody is religious there. So I say Islam, and you know, the immediate reaction is that, oh, you don't eat pork, and you have 4 wives. Oh my God, this is the definition of Islam. But on the other hand, you have people like Dalai Lama. I met him, as I mentioned to you, in 1999, Parliament of World Religions, a great person. And that's what, he's here with the Tibetan Muslims, and he's at the Dargah in Delhi. This is what I do. I hold conferences on Islam and Buddhism. I think I'm one of the very rare persons who is doing this. And this is a picture from the conference I did on Islam and Buddhism. There's an imam here, and this is a very senior monk in Vipassana. He is my student. Now he is a Vipassana master, a deep meditation master. And here is another one who's from Cambodia. So this was taken at a conference I did a few years ago on compassion as a bridge between Islam and Buddhism. So my presentation today is going to be from history and phenomenology of religion approach. I look at religions as wisdom traditions, and whenever I talk about Islam and Buddhism, everybody says, are you a perennialist? And I say, no, I'm not. I'm a parallelist. I don't say that. People have said that about me. I go by the definition that, the scientific mathematical definition that parallel lines never meet. But I say they meet at the train station, at the meeting point, wherever the meeting point is, and then they depart again, and they meet again. But I have some of my personal views which I would like to say to you, but I hope I don't get penalized for that. I believe in equality of all religions. Equality of religions, very hard. Because we live with this idea that my religion is the best. But I have my own struggle, my own way, I've gone over it. And to say equality of religions is difficult, because everybody says I believe, I say when we say all humans are equal, and every constitution says that, and all genders are equal, which is not practiced, but human beings come before all these religions are all about. So my presentation is I'm not going to talk about politics and not make any doctrinal judgments on any religion. And so it's 4 parts: his comments on study of religion, Islamic studies, Buddhist studies, Quran's view of other religions, institution of prophethood, building of bridges, religious understanding, and we have to be careful here because we don't have an understanding of Asian religions. We always look at Asian religions, I mean so Muslims, through the lenses of pre-Islamic Arabia. Whenever they see a Buddhist doing a Y or greeting to the Buddha with the statue, they think, you're worshipping it. No, they're not doing that. I always ask them, I've been out with them for long. I said, what do you do? They said, we pay homage to our teacher. And the Buddha statues came into being, were made only 500 years after the Buddha died. Before that, there was always the Dharma Chakra as a symbol of the Buddha. And Buddha has left, so when he was asked, teacher, you will go away, so who will be our guide? He said the Dharma and the Vinaya, the discipline. Just like Prophet Muhammad says, it is the Quran and the Sunnah, or Quran and Ahl al-Bayt, whatever it is. So this is the way Islam was presented in Buddhism. So Tawheed and Shirk, for me, is a very, very monotheistic debate. It's got nothing to do with Asian religions. Because all religions, Faruqi did work on religion and geography. So every religion has its geographical environment in which they emerge. So when I teach to my students, there's no story of Adam and Eve. It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense at all if you talk about the creation story of Adam and Eve. So the current state of Islam and Buddhism is a lot of conflicts. And as I said, Rohingya will be the last topic I will be talking about. And I'll come to a conclusion later. But how does this work? Oh, okay. All right. I go with science of religion, Max Muller, for the sake of showing that my academic approach. Religion Wissenschaft, that he who knows one knows none. There's a principle of science of religion or academic study of religion. It is not religion of science. There's a big debate going on these days. Religion of science or science of religion. I'm engaged in studying religion scientifically, but not to prove it scientifically, to put it very simply. That's what I come from. There's a big debate going on even in the place where I work. So, dialogue. What's the purpose of dialogue? Is fastabiqul khairat, to compete to do good. That's all. Not to prove my position or the other position is right. And that's how I take dialogue all about. In fact, coming from Temple University, Temple University started the dialogue mission in 1980s, when nobody was talking about dialogue. But today, after 9/11, everybody's talking about dialogue. At that time, dialogue was very few people. Grilford Cantwell Smith, Ismail al-Faruqi, Nasser, Kana Mitra, and Masao Abe.
Houston Smith.
Pardon?
Houston Smith.
Yeah, Houston Smith. Very few of them they were doing it. It's only in the academic circles. But after 9/11, everybody's become an expert on dialogue. So I said, before we talk about dialogue, we need to have an understanding of religions before we talk about dialogue. We live in the modern age, this age of ideologies. Religions have become ideologies, or ideologies have become religions. And I look at the phases of modern age in this way. These are political religious phases: nationalism, secularism, religious fundamentalism, which has led to the rebuttal in form of religious nationalism. Religious nationalism is the current state of affairs. It's very dangerous. It's more dangerous than nationalist fascism, religious fascism, because it is associated with violence and terrorism. It's very, very dangerous. Why? Because we have lost balance between religion and politics. Politics is religion, and religion is politics. Fastabiqul khairat. from Surah Rahman. Tadgawtan. First, we have the balance. First up,
فلا تطغوا في الميزان.
إلا تطغوا في الميزان. Thank you. Yeah, the mizan is lost. The balance is lost. And I went through this struggle of politics as religion and religion and politics. And it is very dangerous. We have to be aware of this balance to be maintained. Now, lots of religious nationalist conflicts are taking place these days between Muslims and Buddhists. And everyone is vulnerable. People are talking about Rohingya, but they're not talking about the Buddhist minorities living in Muslim majority countries. They are highly vulnerable. And I have, alhamdulillah, somehow been able to win the trust of my Buddhist friends. Majority minority classification is colonial. I think it doesn't work at all. It has to be abandoned. In Sri Lanka, what is going on, this conflict between Muslims and Buddhists it's basically ethno-economic conflict. In Myanmar, everybody is blaming Buddhism as what? Religion of violence and persecuting Muslims. It is basically Burmese racism against all the minorities, not only Rohingya, all the other minorities within Burma. And the Muslims in Myanmar are outsiders. They're Indians, Chinese, Rohingya, and they're called Kala. I teach Buddhist monk students, so when the Rohingya issue started, it didn't start recently, it started for a long time ago. The paper you have, or the article which you have on your table was just published this morning. I heard about them 30 years ago. So one day when around 2010 or something, I asked my Buddhist monk students, what about this Rohingya issue? You know what they told me? Oh, they're Kala. Kala means they're dark skin. I said, wow, where is humanity? Where is humanism of the Buddha? So it's basically racism. In Thailand, we have a conflict. The conflict, whenever we say Thailand, is southern Thailand. In Thailand, only 44% of Thai Muslims live in three southern provinces of Thailand. Rest 56% of Thai Muslims are spread all over the country. And they are varied. In the three southern provinces are the Malay. It is the old Patani kingdom, which is in war with the Siamese kingdom. I stayed there for 5 years. And in Malay, which I understand a little bit, they would always say, oh, they are Siamese and we are Melayu. We are Orang Melayu and they are Orang Sie, Orang Siam. They never said they are Buddhist. Even when I taught there for 5 years in southern Thailand, and one day after Friday prayer, my colleague tells me, Imtiyaz, you are Muslim, it's good, but you are Malay, I love you more. What are you talking about? But it's this ummah and all that, just blew me off. So that's what it is. So Thais always, so that's, as I said, yes, Siamese and that issue. Okay, in Malaysia, there's an ethno-economic conflict again. In Malaysia, there's Malay marginal majority with rich Chinese community. And these Chinese are identified as Buddhists, but basically a Chinese is always not, a Chinese could be a Confucianist, Taoist, Buddhist at the same time. And some of them are also Christians. In Indonesia, again, this issue of Chinese and the locals. In Singapore, but Singapore has done something very good. They have a law of religious harmony. Nobody can condemn any other religion. You can be taken to court because religious harmony is very important. And they see it as an Asian value of social harmony, religious harmony, social harmony, to keep everyone, to keep coexistence. So they control it by religious harmony law. And many people have been, any preacher condemning any religion has been deported immediately. So controlled by religious harmony law. Or you can even be imprisoned for that. So, Buddhist studies. In the face, today, there's rise of China and India, and Muslims have totally abandoned the study of Asian religions. We don't study Hinduism, we don't study Buddhism, we don't study Taoism, Confucianism, or even Shinto. And previously we did. For me, Islam, this is not, I'm not saying this as a Muslim, as a faith statement, is the most pluralist religion. The three terms we always use in interreligious dialogue, exclusivism, inclusivism, pluralism, is Christian theological terms. They were not invented by us. Islam has always accepted the existence of others' religions as natural. You know, you ask a common person and they'll say, oh, there are 124,000 prophets. You know, where's the list? The Quran is not a dictionary of religion. It doesn't mention them. It says God, Allah has sent prophet in every place and in every language. So every country has, so no religion is an island today. So I view the emerging Buddhist-Muslim conflict in South, I envision there's a conflict coming up, or it is already here, between South and Southeast Asia, between Islam, between Muslims and Buddhists, and I call it Asian Islamophobia. Now, what is Asian Islamophobia? You hear a lot about Islamophobia. For me, Asian Islamophobia is of a different variety. Western Islamophobia is based in Christian theological, Judeo-Christian and Islam theological disputes. And also the war and the refugees and migrants and people of different color coming here and all that. But Asian Islamophobia is based in ethno-religious conflict. And another factor which is important of Asian Islamophobia is that it's also located in non-understanding of Islam by the Buddhist or Taoist or Japanese. Because all of them are studying of Islam not from Muslim sources or Muslim writers, for example in Japan, but they're reading books translated, about Islam translated, written by somebody and translated into the local languages, in Japanese or in Bahasa Indonesia or whatever you have. And Muslims are writing books about Islam, but only for internal consumption. My wife is a convert from Buddhism to Islam. And many times she says, what is ibadah? You know, all heavy Arabic terms of usage. Or what is sawm and what is this and then I tell her all the time, but you know, it does a lot of foreign Arabic terminology without explaining what it is or what they mean. So Islamic studies is a big challenge, and none of the Islamic studies programs, as I know, don't use the phenomenological or history of religions approach, and they don't teach Asian religions. Yes?
Can you explain phenomenological, that term?
Phenomenology.
I keep seeing it coming up again. It's just laid out for us, if you could.
Yeah, phenomenology is called suspension or bracketing of our own opinions about the other, or putting ourselves in the shoes of the other, trying to understand the other from the perspective of the other, and coming back home and understanding ourselves. Very simple thing, all right?
Beautiful.
All right.
That helps.
Thank you. It's putting myself in the shoes of other, or putting myself in your heart and your heart in my heart. There's a good Thai saying in that. Anybody knows Thai here? Oh, okay. เอาใจเราใส่ในใจเขาเอาใจเขาใส่ในใจเรา Put my heart in your heart and your heart in my heart. So that is, it's not about the mind thing. It's not the reasonal thing. So that's phenomenology. And history of religions. History of religion says, and I believe that it doesn't matter whether a human being was evolved or born of dependent origination or as Adam and Eve story. I share the same religiosity from that first person to me here standing in Chicago in AIC in 2018. I share a common religious history with that person, whatever gender that is. Today, according to research, there are 4,500 religions existing. 7 billion people could not believe only in 5 religions. We know 5 or 10, right? There are 7 billion inhabitants on the earth, and we only know about 5 or 10. But records show that today there are existing 4,200 or 500 religions, and we don't know much about any of them. And Islamic studies is doing very poor. And I don't want to go into that. So, when does study the history of religion, phenomenology of religion? Begins with Al-Biruni. He is regarded as who wrote the book Kitab al-Hind. He went to India and studied Sanskrit. How many of us know Asian languages? Sanskrit, Pali, Chinese, Japanese? None of us. But all of us are ready to condemn those religions without limits. In Thailand, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, I think 80% of their language is Pali and Sanskrit. We just finished Ramadan, you know. And when you're in Ramadan, you go to Malaysia or Thailand and you say Saum or Siam. They don't understand. You say Puasa. They understand. Puasa is from Upwas. Upwas is Sanskrit, means fasting. And many times, Hari Raya, for Eid al-Fitr, they call it Happy Festival, Hari Raya. Hari is Sanskrit. But we have no scholars who know these languages. So Professor Faruqi defined phenomenology of religion. Here you are, my friend. The study of phenomena of religion for the purpose of discovering their meaning. Or putting myself into others' skin. All right. I'm not going to go into Faruqi. So, Muslims are the pioneers of the study of world and Asian religions before even Europe for several factors. Because of trading relations. You know, Hindus were not traveling. It is the Buddhists, because of Buddhism, the Brahmins are not allowed to travel. Even if Brahmins come to visit, and a Brahmin priest comes to visit us, he has to take a permission. So it was with Buddhism that people started traveling. And Arabs have been traveling to China for a long time. China, India, China, Southeast Asia, India, Africa, trade has been going on for a long time. So spread and conversion of Asians to Islam happened because of trade. And there has been a coexistence between Muslims, Buddhists, Taoists since pre-colonial times. And they have existed in different kingdoms. Most of these kingdoms of Southeast Asia, until today, I call them semi-secular. Because in Thailand, the three symbols of state are monarchy, nation, and religion. In Malaysia, the word secularism doesn't exist at all. Secularism is in the technology we use. I just see secularism in all the gadgets we use. It's in the core of being, they are Buddhist. In Malaysia, it's the same thing. A Malay is a Muslim. Indonesia is the same thing. And you go among the Chinese and you go among the Confucians, it's the same thing. So, religion is a practice in Southeast Asia and among these countries where I'm talking about. Okay, and I believe because there has been mystical synthesis between Islam and other religions. And you know that there are many of these languages which were produced because of this interaction. Like Swahili, I speak Swahili. There's a lot of Arabic words in there. Even Malay has a lot of Arabic words or Chinese words or what you have. But today we have a problem, the problem of theological and sociological exclusivism. Before they used to live together, understand each other, and Islam spread because of the Sufi saints. You go to any small village in India or in Southeast Asia and you ask them, how come there's a masjid there? They say, someone from the Silsila of Qadiriya came here, and the Mazar is here, Dargah or Mazar is here. And Hindus and Buddhists and Muslims, everybody goes there until the Saudis came, the Wahhabis came and say, oh, this is all haram. I go to the Mazars and I see everybody coming and worshipping, praying, paying respects. But today, there is happening this sociological exclusivism, which is also based in. So Asian Islamophobia, as I said, is on rise here, which cannot be responded only emotionally. Everyone, you know, most of the pictures you see about the Rohingya, they say, oh, the Buddhists are killing them. Somebody wrote to me, they are massacring the Muslims. So Asian Islamophobia among the Buddhists and others see Islam as a religion of violence. Why? Because of the media. And most of the media in Asia just copies what CNN says or Fox says. You know, the top journalists of Thailand, I know, or media people, they're just translating from English into Thai or into Japanese or whatever they have. And we are nowhere on the scene. So there's a need for Islamic studies to include not only the study of Judaism and monotheistic religions, but Asian religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, even, and their languages, Sanskrit and Pali, Japanese and others. Okay, Western books. There are a lot of books on on Islam, written by on Buddhism, written by Westerners, Peter Harvey, the most famous book on Buddhism, technically very good, but I don't feel the pulse of Buddhism when I read those books. So what I do is that I go to read books written by Buddhist scholars from Sri Lanka, from Myanmar, from Thailand, and feel Buddhism, living Buddhism, in those countries and among the Muslims. Now, my other statement here is that Israeli universities have built very good relations. This is not a political statement. I'm not condemning Zionism or anything. They have built very good relations with the Buddhist universities in Sri Lanka. Many of my colleagues from Sri Lanka, whenever I do conference, I say, hey, can you come over for the conference? They say, I'm going to Israel. I'm going to Bar Ilan University. And I wondered, hey, when did Judaism have a relation with Buddhism? We have a longer relation. So Jewish-Christian Buddhist dialogue is very strong and flourishing. While Islam-Buddhist dialogue is nowhere present, or Confucianist dialogue is not present anywhere. Let me go. But there are some good signs. Sorry. That some universities in Thailand are teaching about Islam. I teach Buddhist monks at the Buddhist university, where the monks are from Myanmar, Cambodia, China, monks and bhikkhus and bhikkhunis from Japan. They are my students. But I have not seen any Muslim university inviting, a Buddhist monk to come and teach Islam. So there's a need for Muslims to study Asian religions. Now, let me come to the second part. What is the Quran's view of Buddhism? Islam is the violent religion. You remember the Bamiyan statue, the largest Buddha statue in Afghanistan, were blown up by the Taliban. The day they blew it up, I was in the Kaaba. I said, oh my God, I got to go back. And they will ask me, why did you blow up the two Buddha statues? There's a book which says that Islam made the Bamiyan statues famous twice. They were preserved for 1400 years. The West came to know them because we preserved them. And we are famous also for blowing them up. So this is our image. And you see, I know Buddhists from Sri Lanka to Japan. If somebody condemns or makes a cartoon of Prophet Muhammad, all of us are uproar, shouting. And Buddhists are very patient people. They have a very, very deep pain about the blowing up of the Bamiyan statues. We take them for granted. I share their pain with them. I really share it. And they do tell me. It's just like somebody comes and blows up Kaaba. We take it for granted. That, if somebody does something against us, we are uproar. But how about when we hurt somebody? And so that's the image. Islam is a violent religion. This is not to do with migration and all that. These are the acts which are causing it. So this is before the destruction. This is after the destruction. While the largest Buddhist monument, the Borobudur, is in Indonesia. And next to Borobudur is a Mahayan temple, is the Prambanan temple, the Hindu temple in Java. Now, it's very interesting. Some Muslims want to blow this up too, because it's a sign of Jahiliyyah and all that, the local language which goes around, religious language. So, I always visit, if I'm in Yogyakarta, I have to visit the Borobudur. It's a great experience for me. But now what is happening is that if you go there, all mobile network is cut off because they fear the Indonesian government is preserving it and protecting it, that all network lines are off once you go in there, because there are people who want to blow it. Some of them wanted to blow it or protested it against the Borobudur temple for the Rohingya case. I said, Borobudur is your legacy. It's got nothing to do with the Rohingya people. But some wanted to blow this, the Borobudur temple. The largest sitting Buddha statue is in Kelantan in Malaysia. There's an ethnic Thai community, and it is there until today. It shows that Muslims have no problems. The former chief minister of Kelantan state would attend and join the Visakha Puja, Mahaka Puja, and other Buddhist festivals. So, what is the history or record of Islam and Buddhist understanding or dialogue? The first encounter takes place in Sindh in the 7th century. You know Sindh, right? In Sindh, which is Pakistan today, Karachi, or that border. And when you read the whole literature there, I'm not making this up, they asked the question, and they came across the Buddhist temples, Buddhist monks, and they were asked, they asked Imtiyaz Yusuf and his ulama, how should we treat the people whom we have met? And the reply came, treat them as Ahl al-Kitab, people of the book. And don't attack their monks and don't destroy their temples. So even in Central Asia, many of the Buddhist works were translated into Arabic. You know about Bilawar and Bodhisattva, in Josephat and Balram. The Western people came to know about it through the Arabic translation. There was the Barmak family, which was very important, influential political family in Abbasid Caliphate. At-Tabari talks about Buddha idols being sold in temples next to mosque in Bukhara, Uzbekistan. Can you imagine that happening today somewhere? In a Muslim country selling Buddha statues next to a mosque. And the word Bukhara, many people think, you know Bukhari, right? The collection of hadith. Everybody thinks Bukhari is an Arab. The word Bukhara is Vihara, Buddhist monastery. That's the meaning. So Imam Bukhari, the collector of hadith, has a lineage of a Buddhist lineage in his line, but nobody knows about it. And then Islam and Buddhism have coexisted in Southeast Asia from 12th to 15th century. This is the first encounter, sorry. There's the first encounter takes place. And the Buddhists and the Hindus of that part convert to Islam for mystical orientation. It's a mystic synthesis which is taking place between Shiva Buddhism and Islam, monism and monotheism coming together. And if you go to the pesantren or pandoks of the local madrasas, they are basically modeled on the Buddhist temple schools. There is in the center there is the house of the Tuan Guru, or the Guru, the teacher, or the Malim, and then they have these huts, traditional madrasa I'm talking about, where the students stay, and just like a temple school or a kuti, where they meditate. So all these evidences are there. Al-Biruni, he did not write about Buddhism, but he studied Hinduism. He says, very interesting, this book is not a polemical one, Kitab al-Hind. I shall not produce the arguments of our antagonists in order to refute such of them as I believe to be in the wrong. My book is nothing but a simple historic record of facts. I shall place before the reader the theories of the Hindus exactly as they are, and I shall mention in connection with them similar theories of Greeks in order to show the relationship. Today we don't write stuff like this. This is phenomenology of religion. Is regarded as the first phenomenologist. Next person is Shahrastani. Shahrastani is regarded in the history of study of religion has the honor of writing the first history of religion in world literature. Shahrastani, about 12th century. And he has a book, he has a section on Ara al-Hind, or the views of Indian religions. And according to him, the Quranic perspective of the universal institution of prophethood enables Buddha to be counted among the prophets that have appeared in different places and different languages. Now this is a very dangerous statement I make. People ask me, do you believe the Buddha is a prophet? Oh my God, you put me in problem, put me on the spot. Somebody even says to me, if you ask me, I say yes. And I will come to that, why. And when I say my reasons, I have been told, you're just at the edge of falling into hell. I said, all right, leave it to me. And I will come to that. So, according to Asharistani, yes, he is a prophet. Rashiddin al-Hamdani is a Jewish convert to Islam. He wrote a book called Jami al-Tawariq. It is his first history of world history, written by Hamdani. He wrote a detailed life story of the Buddha. I call it, at that time, Buddhism for Muslim dummies. Really, that's the kind of the book it is. It's available today. It's very expensive. I can't afford to buy it. It's about $500. It's published here in the UK in the Khalili Foundation. Khalili Foundation is Khalili is Dawood Khalili, is a Jewish convert, Iranian Jew who has collected all the manuscripts and a lot of things from Iran, and this collection is. This part of book is part of his collection. It's in the UK. This is a picture from Jami al-Tawariq. This is the Buddha. Shakyamuni offering fruit to the devil. This is painted by Muslim. Forget about all the Buddha statues they're talking about. Right? And this is Mara, Shaitan. Just look at this picture as this painting. What do you make out of it? Any comments? Let's have an interaction here. Pardon?
He's offering a fruit?
Yeah, he's offering a fruit. Because you see, in the night, the whole night of before enlightenment, before nirvana, the Buddha had a struggle with the Mara. And if you see this is an imagination picture. Of course, the Buddha looks very Middle Easterner. See the way he is sitting, and see the posture of Mara, awkward, not straight. Yes.
So when I look at something like that, I think like fruit is it's life.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, it's kind of like the seed that gives birth to life, and so I feel like he's giving birth to the. If I didn't know that was Buddha and the devil, then he just told me somebody's offering fruit to the devil. It's like giving life to the devil.
Okay, all right. But it's interpreted that Shaitan or Mara can come in different ways. Yeah, in different directions. Again, this is there also in the Quran when Shaitan says, "I will hinder them from every direction." I don't remember the exact that ayat over there. This is again from Jami al-Tawariq, the grove where the Buddha achieved enlightenment. This is where the Buddha achieved enlightenment, and this is the Buddha. And then there's a whole discussion on this, and that is the place where he was cremated. The last one, Hafiz Abru, and again a Persian historian, wrote, we are now in the Mongol period, he wrote Majma al-Tawariq, a universal history, and he discusses pre-Islamic prophets up to Prophet Muhammad. And he talks about, in the Buddhist myth of the birth of the Buddha is the elephant and the mother, and he kinds of compares it with, this is the mother, with Maryam, the story of Maryam giving birth to Jesus. I don't have time to go much more in, but I just want to show this. And this is the Buddha preaching to a Brahmin. This is Buddha preaching to a Brahmin, and this is Buddha in Parinirvana, after Nirvana, after he dies. Now these are Muslim manuscripts. Today we go and talk to people, nobody knows or even appreciates all this. Here, this is a closer picture. Disciples of the Buddha way after he passes away. The Buddha looks very Middle Eastern, and there's a Persian version and there's an Arabic version of the text. They're available. Now, there's a lot of research done about this by non-Muslim scholars. Muslims, if you go to Indonesia, Malaysia, their history begins with the coming of Islam in the 15th century. All before that is whitewash, total. Okay. The first book, how much time do I have?
5 minutes.
Oh my God. Give me 10. All right. The first book, Western book on Buddhism, is written in 1844. Introduction, the history of Buddhism in the end. And the theory is that the Buddha is an African. Why? Because Buddha has curly hair. My African friends here, they did not know that the curled hair of the Buddha are symbol of enlightenment in the Buddhist art. There's a long discussion on that. I advise you to look at this book by Donald Lopez. He's at the University of Michigan, From Stone to Flesh. And for them, Buddhism is even more dangerous than Islam because it's an idolatrous religion. And Buddhism exists from Myanmar to Japan, is a larger geographic challenge for Christian mission. Okay, I'm going to go very quickly. Okay, I have to say this. Rumi has a very interesting saying in Persian. The last part he says, I find the way to Mecca and Budkhane is Buddhist monastery, are the same. Iqbal has a poem on the Buddha, 2 poems, the teachings of the Buddha. They're all available, but I'm going to jump all over. Okay. Some scholars, like Professor Muhammad Hamidullah, says the Buddha is mentioned in the Quran symbolically. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينِ. There is a fig, olive, Mount Sinai, and land made safe. Olive is Jesus, Moses, Muhammad. Fig is the people, is the Bodhi tree under which the Buddha was enlightened. This is his interpretation. Not his, he takes it from former scholars before him. Zulkifl, the Quran mentions in Wa Ismail wa Idris wa Zulkifl kullu min as-salirin. They are among the patient who practice patience. So Idris is identified as the Buddha. Zulkifl is identified. And some scholars say Zulkifl means Kapila Vastu, where the Buddha was born. Okay, contemporary issues. We have lots of conflicts going on these days between Islam and Buddhism in Southeast Asia. These are basically conflicts of ethno-religious type. But you'll be surprised that for the last 900 years of coexistence between Islam and Buddhism and coexistence, as far as I know, there is no one Southeast Asian Muslim scholar of Buddhism and vice versa. I'm doing that. I say I came from Africa. It's a nightmare for me. It's a trouble. Yeah, oh my God, I go into depression. I'm sharing with you my personal state. It's so hard because the locals never studied Buddhism. They're all interested in the Middle East. I opened so many scholars, 18th century, 19th century, who went to study in Makkah. They wrote only about the rituals, the arkan of Islam, how to perform rituals, but they never studied their past. 900 years of coexistence, so why you will not have conflicts which are going on today? It's a very sad state. So for me, Thailand is Saudi Arabia of Buddhism. Not because it's very rich, largest Buddhist country in the world. And Myanmar and Sri Lanka are the Azhar and Medina universities of Buddhism, because that's where the intellectual centers are. But we don't study them. But you see, it's very interesting. It is called Serambi Mecca. Southeast Asia is called Serambi Mecca, the veranda of Mecca. So this is a very, if we look into the future, geopolitically, there are going to be problems in this region. It will become Afghanistan because of the Rohingya issue. Many of the words, as I said, sorry. This is a, what was this? Anybody? Try. What do you think is this?
It's like a mosque.
How come?
Because I've seen something like that in Thailand.
Yeah, it is a mosque, but it's a synthesis. That's the temple roof, this is the Chinese balcony, and this is the wooden Malay house. This is in Kudus in Indonesia. This is the Hindu temple, Muslim mosque, and there's the Buddhist temple behind and back. So demographically today, if you look at Southeast Asia, Muslims make up 42% and Buddhists 40%. They're 40-40. But Muslims in Southeast Asia know a lot about Judaism and Christianity than about Buddhism. Political reasons. Sorry. So there is a conflict going on in southern Thailand. It's very sad. They have been living coexisting for so long. But it's not a religious conflict. It's a political conflict between two kingdoms in the southern Thailand. And it's become violent. There have been attacks on the mosque and attacks on the temples. In 2004, there was an attack on the mosque. There are militants, local. But their agenda is not isolated. Their agenda is local. They want to separate from Thailand. Same in the same year, during the month of Ramadan, there was an arrest. I think 85 of them died. So this is the state of affairs. This is on the side what happens to the Muslims. This is how children go to school. Do you want your young brothers, sisters, children to go to school like this? I don't. Think of the psychological development of this kid. Positive, negative. Monks have to go to collect arms with military protection. Sad to see this. Monks are attacked. So what kind of peace are we talking about? These are all peace talks going on. I don't see any hope. I'm going to go very quickly into Myanmar. In Myanmar there are 4 Muslim communities. The Indians, the children of intermarriage, the Chinese, and the Rohingya. Rohingya were at the Bangladesh border. In the past there was no border, so people used to move in and out. And there's also the problem, there's also the issue of Burma and Arakan. This is an all Arakan kingdom and the Burma kingdom. And in the 18th century, the Burmese king attacked Arakan king, and he had to flee to Bengal. And then he conquered Arakan state again with Muslim help, and he was very, very positive towards Islam. Then came the British, and then came the Aung San. Okay, let me be very quick, very forward here. Before the formation of Pakistan, East Pakistan, the Arakan Muslims, I don't call them Rohingya, the Arakan Muslims wanted to join East Pakistan. So they met Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan. And Jinnah had talked with General Aung San, the father of Aung San Suu Kyi. And father of Aung San said, no, they will be protected as minorities, don't worry about them. But afterwards, after that, Burma became an exclusivist country and a military ruled country. It had democracy for a short while. It has lots of problems, internal problems, but it has so many groups among themselves. So it's between the majority Burman and other groups. But if you see the composition, Buddhists 89%, Christians 4%, Muslims 4%, and the Buddhist extremists are saying, oh, the Muslims are growing very fast and they will catch up us in numbers, demographic. This is called as creating fear of numbers. There are a lot of reports. This is an 1875 British report about that there is a group of people who are called Musalman. They are not different from the local Arakan Buddhists, except for religion. Their culture, their way of life, everything is same. And now you have rise of extremism. It's an ethnic issue between the Rakhine Buddhists and the Rohingya people. I don't think they will get anything. I don't think Rohingya people are ever going to get citizenship. And according to the Burma constitution, there is a 3-tiered citizenship. Full citizenship, associate citizenship, and naturalized citizenship. They're not going to get. because there's a rise of Buddhist extremism. As the monk says, no Rohingya. These are from last week. These are those who have fled to Bangladesh. Pictures from Bangladesh camp. This is how they live. These people are basically living like animals. Muslims are treating them just like charity case. You know? Collect donation, make Muslims cry during Ramadan, give me $1, $2. I tell them, why don't you have HRD for them, not human rights, human resource development. There are no projects at all. If we do HRD for them, human resource development, they can sustain themselves on and demand their rights of citizenship in this country. These pictures are sent by my friends who are there in the camps now. Sri Lanka, same, anti-Muslim. He's a monk. He says Sri Lanka belongs to the Buddhists and all Muslims have to get out. First they persecuted the Christians, they got rid of them. The Tamils, who were Christians and Hindus and Muslims, now is the case of Muslims. These are just, this year pictures. But there is still hope. There are Muslims and Buddhists joining. This is the funeral for a Buddhist monk who was murdered. And you can see Muslims and Buddhists joining together. So, to conclude, religious truth is not exclusive property of any one religion. And no religion, in my view, is free from the stain of violence. I'll stop here. And we can have an interaction. Thank you. Oh, I forgot. Just a minute. I need to show what I do. Just a minute. I forgot what I do. 1 minute before we have this question and answer. This is what I do. I hold conferences on Islam and Buddhism. These are my students. They study Islam. Very fearful at the first time. The monks from Myanmar, Cambodia, China, Korea.
In what language?
I teach in Thai and English. No, I teach them in English. Yeah, these are international monks. I teach them in English. And I took them, once I told them we are going to observe the Friday prayer. They said, I told them next week we're going to the mosque. I said, no, sir, we are not going. I said, why? They said, there are bombs in the mosque. I said, no, we're going. I said, we'll go with you if you go with us. I said, yeah, we'll go together. But I got caught in traffic jam. They arrived before me. And you know, in third world, you don't have air-conditioned buses and all. It's so hot. They waited until I arrived. They would not. I said, go in. You know, they have arranged everything for you, your lunch, and they even, okay, when I came, they went in, and they chanted in the mosque. They had their lunch, they chanted after the, we are not bad people, huh? And yeah, this is the lunch, chanting in the mosque before the lunch. And when after they observed the prayer, and afterwards, when the prayer was over, everybody's taking selfies. Okay, I'll stop over there. Thank you.
Yeah, so I always thought Buddhism was more of like a thought process.
Yeah.
Like it's, when you have the different deities or the different types of Buddhas, it's like the compassion, the thunderbolt, you know, kind of like break down the ego, so it's more like purification
it's hard.
of the spirit and the soul, versus like Hinduism is believing that this deity is my Lord, and through him I can, or her, I can get what I want.
I think, you are right. I think Buddhism is very serious, very hard religion. More than Islam, I think sometimes.
You know what I'm saying?
Because there's so many rules of consciousness, yes.
I didn't think it was a religion, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a way of life, which
It's a
is
way
very,
of life,
it's a way of life,
it's
very,
a
very.
thought process, rather than like Hinduism is a religion, like this is, if you follow the deity Ganesh, then you follow, you know, the meditations, the chanting for Ganesh. And in Buddhism, it's not so much just because like you have a sitting Buddha, it's an image of Buddha, but they don't really believe that Buddha is God, right, in a sense?
Yeah, I agree with you.
He's a man that had...
Who showed the way, who showed the Eightfold Path. And but other issue is that, you know, my professor of Buddhism in Temple would say, he would distinguish between classical Buddhism and California Buddhism. California raising, huh? sorry, Buddhism is not meditation alone. It's more than that. It's a way of life. You can't drink alcohol as Buddhist. It's haram in Buddhism. And many other things. There are very strict rules. It's hard religion. And the monks, I respect my monk students. They fast every day for the whole of their life. We do it only in Ramadan once. You know, they respect me. But I say, I really respect you. A child maybe can't take the vows of being a monk at the age of 9 and no meal after mid-afternoon until next morning. We get so excited about Ramadan, all these rough iftar parties and all. I say hats off to the Buddhist monks. Yeah, it was, yeah. Yes.
Yes, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I hope you can send me a copy because you had to rush through it.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you were talking, I was thinking about, you know, Ibn Khaldun, who like traveled everywhere and studied cultures and people. Do you think that in our modern Islamic scholars and institutions, this issue of being Arabized as opposed to being Islamized, and this obsession with getting the West to convert to Islam, do you feel this is the reason why we're so obsessed and distracted, you know, like getting Europeans and white Americans to become Muslim, that's why we can't focus on other
Real
cultures
issues,
and other...
Yeah, I differentiate between dawah and scholarship. Yeah, we do. We don't distinguish between dawah and scholarship. We want to convert everyone. This is basically against the principle of the Quran. The Quran accepts diversity of religion as natural. As natural. And it says, compete to do good, fastabiqul khairat. But every Muslim wants to convert everybody else. We are just doing mission. For me, Islam and Buddhism are the religions of liberation. I'm not going to go into the metaphysics of it. This is the way we should look at these two religions. But this obsession of wanting to convert everyone to Islam, especially the whites, is probably, I think it's an Arab problem. I'm sorry, yeah. And I tell them, so 1400 years you have been trying to convert 1400 years. The whole West, but still they don't respect my prophet. So why should I waste my time? I better go and learn about the Buddhists and the Hindus and the Taoists and the Shinto, who don't even know my prophet. Yeah, it's a problem because it's all petrodollar money. And these are tribal kings. Yeah, the mess which is going on in the Middle East, I don't want to go into that story. Why is it? Buddhists cannot understand how can religion engage in violence. I'm not saying Prophet Muhammad is violent. Today a religion is used, because ahimsa, you know, for a Buddhist lay person to even kill an ant is problematic. At my home, my wife is a convert, and I'm influenced. But the other day she saw something and I said, let's get rid of it. She said, no. And I can't do it anymore too. Because it's an amal, it's an act for which we have to be responsible.
So how do they justify the present violence then?
Oh yeah. Just as every Muslim is not a terrorist, every Buddhist is not.
Because the images you show, I mean, we understand the Muslim justification, whether we agree with it or not. The Buddhist justification.
There are many Buddhists who are condemning. The Dalai Lama has condemned them, and many. I showed to you the part which is making problematic. But there are many Buddhist monks who are for peace and for Buddhist Muslim understanding. I go to many conferences. Whenever I wanted to go for a conference in the Middle East or to Muslim institution, my papers have been rejected because they say we are not interested in Buddhism. This is the Doha Forum dialogue. I just went there and they rejected my paper. They said the committee thinks your paper is irrelevant. Thanks to Dawood, I can come and talk to you here. They say we are only interested in talking with Christianity and Judaism. So this is how they justify. If you want budget for Christian conversion, you'll get a lot of money. But if I want to do a project, no, these projects which I do, I get support from non-Muslim foundations, German foundations or Buddhist foundation or Japanese foundation. But Muslims are not interested at all, who are living in Asia. And they ask me, why are you so excited about it? Why are you wasting time with Buddhism? I said, you people should be more concerned than I do. But for me, I'm studying them as religious wisdom traditions, that's all. And I believe there is a lot of understanding which can be built. Yeah. Any other question?
If I may ask one question, what is the, why is this resurgence or emergence of violence in south of Thailand? Is this recent? I don't know the back history of it. I mean, if we say there's a rise of Islamophobia in America, we can say, oh, maybe it has something to do with Trump being elected, or previously Obama coming into office, and that has created more tension, racial tension. What caused, Mindanao and the south of Thailand to really start getting heated up and all this violence?
You know what has happened? Because of the colonization, the Dharma Rajas, who are the patrons of all religion, were removed. The king of Sri Lanka was exiled to India, and the Buddhist king of India, of Burma was exiled to India, and the king of Mongol was exiled to Burma. So what happened is, the kings care for everyone, all their people. So the monks became the protectors, just like ayatollahs or anybody else will become. And when they become protectors of the religious tradition, it becomes problematic. They only think about the in-groups, sociologically speaking. They don't think about the others. They only think of the rights. And that is what is happening. Now, in southern Thailand, the conflict is going on for 109 or 10 years. It is not going to be solved because it is an old problem between two kingdoms. Patani kingdom was annexed by Thailand, by Siamese kingdom. And now it came back. I was there in that period. There was a forum which is still there, for dialogue. But when Prime Minister Thaksin, he became the Prime Minister of Thailand, he removed that forum of dialogue. So violence came back. So when people had any problem, they would go to this forum and say, oh, I don't want to do this, or I have this complaint. So that's why the violence came back. That's the main reason. It's got nothing to do with and they had a National Reconciliation Commission established by the Thai government. I need to talk about, by the Thai government, which made the proposal, but they were never implemented. And in that meeting, there was an American journalist. And he asked the commission, which was led by a former Prime Minister of Thailand, he said, so how can Americans help you in solving this resolution, in implementing this resolution? He said, former Prime Minister, he said, keep the hell out of here. Don't be interested. Yes, keep the hell out of here. So it is a domestic conflict. It's got nothing to do. It's a nationalist conflict, just like Kashmir and Rohingya conflict is also the same. Now, Rama IX, Thailand had a Dharma Raja. Rama IX was a Dharma Raja for me. He attended the Maulids. And even the present king, if you go and watch on YouTube, just before Ramadan, he opens the Maulid every year. And he reads Sallallahu ala Muhammad Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he joins the whole ceremony. So, Thailand we call what is called a Bhumipon consensus. That is what is keeping Thailand. So Thailand was the only country which had a Dharma Raja. And Buddhism, from the time of Asoka, has always been tolerant of all religious traditions.
Would you say it still has one? The president and the crown prince has recently been...
Oh, okay. There's a bad image about him in the media.
His father
And I say, Alhamdulillah, Thailand did not fall out as the journalists wanted it to be. He did not fall out. Now, he is... They were going to appoint the new Sankharaja, the head of the... So there's the internal politics between the Buddhist factions. So he He changed the law and appointed the new Sankharaja, who is very enlightened, very knowledgeable, and who rides over these small conflicts. So he is going to protect the rights of all religions in this country, in this country, not the constitution. I'm very positive about it. But if you talk to people of southern Thailand, they don't like Rama 9, they don't like Rama 10, they don't like the whole, the kingdom of Thailand, because their kingdom was taken away. It's basically that Thailand did not come to them, Thailand came to them. Yeah.
We have time for just one more question.
My final request, Dr. Dowd, please introduce study of Asian religions in American Islamic College. My request. Nobody is doing it anywhere. And those who are teaching Asian religions are us. No, let them come and teach us. This is the only way peace can be brought. And I don't believe in peace studies, because it's useless. It's just goody-goody, you know, bring one imam and one monk and one priest and take pictures, and it should be from State House to the street. Yeah. I hope AIC can do that.
It may be some years before we get to that stage, because it's a very small student body.
Yeah.
At the moment, we have master's and bachelor's degrees in Islamic studies, and there's a little bit of comparative religion. I mean, you say it's not going on any place else, but I personally know Muslims who are mystics and philosophers, for example, at Harvard, who are studying Sanskrit. I mean, it's not like this doesn't exist. I mean, your experience at Temple wasn't totally unique. I mean, there are a few people, I mean, who are getting the qualifications or who have the qualifications necessary, but it's
I want to bring it in the classroom. Bring it into the Muslim classroom, Muslim students' classroom. I teach in a college where we have 400 students. All are Buddhists. I'm the only Muslim. They'll love me. And they learn Islam. You know why I'm saying this? Because the Islam what I teach is the way we learn here. But once they go out on the road, they say, sir, but the Muslims don't even smile at us. Because they don't even, we want to be friendly with them. So that's what happens in the marketplace. So if we have few students, you know, who go on into this kind of studies, I don't have much time left. We don't have much time left. My anxiety, why am I anxious about this? My anxiety is that, anxiety is what? Nothing is happening, and our parents gave me and all of us good life. We are younger generation. But the world which is coming in future, this technology world is full of violence, social media. And it is dangerous. Everybody is learning not through books, is learning religion through senses only. And two senses, auditory and eyes, which affect feeling. Nothing else. This is happening in every pedagogy. So, how to deal with this child? I don't want my children and grandchildren, and even Buddhists, they don't want their children and grandchildren to have a violent world. That's what I'm saying. And none of these Muslim universities, even international Islamic universities, are not going to teach it. I'm saying this because I have no hope left. I feel that I'm going to die as a sad man.
Even in Brunei, for example?
Oh, Brunei, they don't want to talk at all.
All right, all right, all right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
I
I
know a
was
couple of
going
people there.
to send one of my brilliant students to Brunei to do her PhD, her master's on the issue of Islam and Buddhism and Rohingya. My friend in Brunei said, please tell her to change the topic of the dissertation. They have lots of money. Malaysia, no. Indonesia, there is possibility. They are more open, but they have no money. Life is hard. You know, I spent my Ramadan last year in Indonesia. I should share this with you. Sorry, I'm taking time. They break fast with sweet potatoes, boiled sweet potatoes. You know sweet potatoes, right? Yam and cassava. Whoever does that, what kind of iftars do we do? And still they are practicing Islam. So they are very nice. Indonesians are. I feel suffocated in Malaysia.
What about Singapore? I mean,
Singapore is
wouldn't that be a place to introduce Muslims to? I mean, it's national policy to.
Singapore is a business state. The only money, it's only finance.
Banking.
Yes.
Corporations.
Yeah. And Singapore has fears of Islam. When Singapore separated from Malaysia, the first thing they did, Lee Kuan Yew did, is get defense advice from Israel. He said, I'm surrounded by these Muslim countries. Until today. I gave a lecture a few years ago at Georgetown University, and I met an Israeli scholar who wrote a book on Indonesia. And I said, but you're not allowed to go to Indonesia. You don't get visa. He said, I work from Singapore. This is reality.
Indonesia, in a hotel room, they'll provide you with a prayer carpet, but there's always Ganesh in the
Yes,
hotel.
yes.
So
And-
it's totally
And
integrated.
if you go to the Ramayan play in the evening, in
And
Yogyakarta.
Muslims are so excited about it, and they're very well versed in the
They know it.
Ramayana.
Yeah,
they know it.
Yeah.
They love the Ramayana.
I went one day for the Ramayana play in the evening, and the actors, they came to me, and then they said, Assalamu alaikum, sir. I said, who are you? I attended your lecture in the morning, the students of Islamic studies, playing a Sita and Hanuman and Ram, no problems. But poor, it's a poor country, you know. And unfortunately, they went through 32 years of dictatorship of Suharto. Malaysia has money, but Malaysia are very myopic.